Hello.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Super Thundercast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Chris.
Yeah.
So?
Today, we're not doing the usual thing that we've done for a bit, we're changing it a little bit again. We're talking about the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
And rather than a genre, we're talking about just the Dreamcast.
This is because the genre we wanted to talk about, there's no point talking about it yet.
Not yet.
Two of the biggest games in that genre for the year come out around the time we're recording this. So we're going to wait. So we decided we'd talk about the Dreamcast because...
Because goddamn, I love me a Dreamcast.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Talked before about how mine's died. So we've just been playing on Alex's and it's maybe genuinely sad is the way I'd look at it.
Oh, it's a lovely machine.
Because I'm sat there going, yeah, we played on my copy of Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Yeah, we played a bit of Jedi Power Battles. Fucking hell, that game was bad.
Yeah. I mean, I always say it's always like my joke answer for something, but now I realise why it is my joke answer all over again.
It is terrible. And I was literally sat on Amazon at work before going, if this Dreamcast one works, we have to do one about the PS1.
Oh yeah, we definitely have to do one about the PS1.
Which means I'm going to have to buy a new PS1 memory card because I've lost mine.
I've got one if you want.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy Jedi Power Battles.
See how it stacks up.
See how it stacks up, yeah. Go buy that. Go buy Taifu, Wrath of the Tiger. And
said no one ever.
It was brilliant. I put it on my Raspberry Pi, plugged it in, sat there and went, well, that was disappointment as a child saved, wasn't it? Fucking Acclaim. Couldn't make games. Good riddance. Anyway, so yeah, the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
So,
what are your, initial, can you remember back, take your mind back
all the way back
90s,
when?
To the late 90s, you're coming off the Tekken 3 high, you're like,
it's coming, what is this? Because this is the thing, right? I remember, me and my next door neighbour, we used to just play on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
We used to play on the PlayStation, we used to play Half-Life on the PC, and we used to dabble in Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
That was turn of the millennium. That was me as a gamer.
Yeah.
I was playing what I had on my PlayStation, and I was dabbling in bits of other stuff. And I just remember my next door neighbour knocking on my front door, and me going to the door, and he had the Dreamcast box. And we talked about it a bit, and we're going, oh my god, it's a console that you can plug into the internet for some reason. And it's got, stuff on it, and it looks really good. And look at the graphics on Crazy Taxi. And it was that was what we were like. We were kind of looking at it going, it's like a step on from what we wanted. But it was I remember the weird thing was, it was we went, yeah, the Dreamcast. Ran into my mate's living room, plugged it all in, set it all up, played WWF Attitude on it. And my prevailing initial memories of the Dreamcast were playing Power Stone, Sega Rally, WWF Attitude, and the ECW Hardcore Revolution game, which were the two fairly arse wrestling games in the comparison to other ones. And then, Sega Rally, which was, my mate's dad was a rally mechanic, so it was we were playing that. And his dad had come in and I worked on one of them, and walk off.
It's a great game, Sega Rally. It's
Power Stone, we were just there going, I've just hit somebody with a telegraph pole. What is this? And then, we were, 10 and 12, 11 and 13, something like that. We were around that kind of age. So it was this game's come out, and it was, the Great Satan, it was Shenmue. And we put that on, and it was just... I
can't imagine that's something that a 10 and 12-year-old would want to play.
Thinking back, I think that's actually one of the issues I had, was that the first time I played it, and the first time my mate played it, we were bored shitless by it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was kind of... I think that always put me off.
I can remember, Shenmue is a huge part of the Dreamcast kind of...
oeuvre.
Yeah, it's when people talk about the Dreamcast, they're talking about a lot of the time they do end up talking about Shenmue because it is kind of like
It was the flag.
that game that made that system what it was. But I can remember all like the pods in our town centre that had Dreamcast were all playing Shenmue, and I remember because I'm the same age as you. I would have been, what was it, 2000 that Shenmue came out?
We'd have been
11 or 12, something like that. I can remember sitting, like, looking at a pod and seeing a kid a lot older than me playing it and just going, what's he doing? Why is he wandering around this town? I mean, it looks very nice, but why is he not fighting anyone?
Yeah, you looked at it and went, what is this?
Yeah, why is he just walking around a town talking to people? This isn't a game. But at the same time, like, yeah, I think at the time I was way too young to really appreciate what Shenmue was. Shenmue. But I mean, it's like that's my kind of initial memory of the Dreamcast, and it kind of goes hand in hand with that.
I remember being confused by a lot of the games that were on it because it was it seemed to be. It was the first time where I looked at a console and it was, it's all stuff. A lot of it was, it's stuff I can get on the PlayStation, or it was like a 3D version of Sonic. Because I still had my Master System and had friends with Mega Drives and stuff at that point, so we were all still like, we'd all still be playing Sonic and Mortal Kombat and stuff like that in its like original format.
Yeah.
It's like still playing stuff on the SNES and things, and then like you'd see a 3D version of it and be like, that's kind of mind blowing. You know what I mean?
It really
it's
was.
Kind of...
Well, I can remember playing Crazy Taxi because like my original kind of introduction or my old memories of the Dreamcast are all of pods in shops. I didn't have anyone. No one I knew had a Dreamcast. No one I knew was into gaming really, and much less something like the Dreamcast where it's loads of like arcade ports or, like you say, re-release like slightly better versions of the PS1 games that we were getting. And I can just remember playing Crazy Taxi and Soul Calibur in game kind of roundabout. It must have been roundabout the Dreamcast came out because I didn't know there was a new Sega console because I was a kid. I didn't want interest in magazines or anything. Wasn't keeping up with the latest news in the industry.
Games consoles just seemed to
they just kind of
appear and like, you'd see the odd TV advert, or
you get like the school.
Given the time it was, you'd have seen it on Games Master on the TV.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I remember they did a Sonic Adventure time trial on that as one of the competitions, and I remember watching it and going, because like everyone's prevailing memory of, I think it's Sonic Adventure, and one of the big bits of footage you used to show off the Dreamcast was Sonic running, and then that killer whale comes up.
Yeah.
And I just remember seeing that and being like, what the fuck is this? I was like,
yeah.
I think that was one of the points, formative, like, gaming year kind of wise, where you kind of went, yeah, this is probably the hobby for me because that's mad as ratchet.
Well, it's like I was saying, like Crazy Taxi. I can remember standing in game for 20 minutes while my parents did something more important in town, and just
used to leave you in game.
Yeah, they just used to leave me in game. I was a nuisance for the people who used to work. So I used to ask them loads of weird questions like, "Can I trade games in here?" And I think this was while that kind of whole kind of second-hand thing was happening in game. And it was like, yeah, how much would I get for a Master System? We don't take Master Systems. I can remember trying to get someone to tell me about how much a PS2 will cost, just as kind of like I'd heard the PS2 was coming, so they had no idea how much it was going to cost. They're just like, I don't know, kid, leave me alone.
Yeah.
It's like, but I remember playing Crazy Taxi and just being kind of amazed by how fast it was and how fluid it felt in comparison to, like I say, I mean, we've been playing PlayStation 1 games. If you go back and look at, say, even something like Gran Turismo 1, which is still or Gran Turismo 2, which is still kind of considered like a bit of a technical marvel for the time. And it's head and shoulders ahead of it, but again, it's like it's an arcade perfect almost version of that game that you're getting on a console that you could take home with you. I was kind of amazed by it, and I was saying to you before that like after I'd had a few of those moments with it. I mean, excluding Shenmue at the time, but after I had a few of those kind of shots, and especially after I played Soul Calibur, it was kind of like asking my parents at every opportunity, can I have a Dreamcast? Can I get a Dreamcast? And their thing was, no, you keep talking about this PlayStation 2, you're going to want that more, so you're not having one. And it's kind of...
Well, we all seemed to get Dreamcasts really quick when we got to uni.
Yeah.
Because we sort of... It was really annoying because we all started uni just as Game Station was getting good, just before Game Station shut down.
Yeah.
So it was like... When you look at some of the quality of... Like, some of the nicks some of the Dreamcast games we've got between us are in.
Oh, yeah.
And you look at...
The price that we paid for them as well.
And you look at just some of the retro shit we got in general. I mean, CEX in town is starting to get a bit like it now, but it's ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, it's silly.
If you're listening to CEX, sort your shit out.
I mean, this could be an entirely different podcast in itself.
But it's that thing where it's like, that's what... There was that thing, because we suddenly were in that position where we could go,
what wasn't I allowed when I was
What wasn't I allowed? I have a disposable income now. I stack shelves, bitch. I know what I want. So we'd be off and we'd get it. And it would be a case of all of a sudden we had access to all the games we wanted. And for me, because obviously we're a bit older, all the stuff I had this kind of little hazy childhood memory about, bar like one or two exceptions, I was a bit disappointed by a lot of it.
Really?
Yeah, like, well, obviously I went into Shenmue going, I remember this, I was told this was a classic, and then went, holy shit, it's still boring. And then I remember playing, like, I played Power Stone and Power Stone 2 and Marvel vs. Capcom, and I was like, these are amazing. Power Stone and Power Stone 2 are fantastic. But then playing Marvel vs. Capcom, like we played it just before, it's so much nicer to play on the PlayStation.
Well, I think that's because we're more used to play. Like we were saying, like you had it on PS2, and I have the PS3 version. So it's like our kind of the way that we first the way I first played that game was on the PlayStation. So it's like I'm more used to. Plus, as well, I think my controllers are probably a little bit knackered as well. I mean, they are like original. Like came with that.
Well, I mean, your Dreamcast is still boxed. Mine came cellophaned to a bit of cardboard.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I got 4 controllers, 4 light guns, and about 8 games with it.
Yeah.
For 40 quid.
But I mean, that's what the Dreamcast kind of is to me. It's that thing that I kind of felt should have been part of my childhood, but wasn't. And I mean, I'm still always on the lookout for a copy of Skies of Arcadia. I had it once, but I lost it, and it's fucking expensive now, and I'm weeping. But it's
you'll turn up in a box somewhere.
I fucking won't. Believe me, I've opened every box. It's not there. But I'm always on the lookout for a copy of Skies of Arcadia, Grandia 2. What's that? Like, I really want Dino Crisis for it. I know I can get it on the PlayStation 1, but I really want it for the Dreamcast.
I saw that on Amazon today.
Yeah, you can find it all over the place, but it's still like, at the minute, it's not like when we were in uni when we walked
into a shop.
I can only disappoint myself.
So you walked into a shop and went, oi, oi. It's like, I'm buying a fucking house. It's like, I'm at a point now where I'm going, I need to replace my PC. I need to replace my Dreamcast. I need to do this. There's also that part of me that's going, I've been told I'm not allowed to put all my consoles on the telly downstairs.
Yeah, you're going to
So I'm going to have to build an office. So I've got to buy myself another telly. Because I've only got one telly.
That's a lot of money.
And at the same time, the way that argument went was, fine. I was sat there, I was like, perfectly calm and reasonable, going, fine. You can have the downstairs TV. But you can't complain about what I buy for my office. To which the response was, fine.
She don't know what she's let herself
She doesn't know what she's let herself in for. I've sat there, I've marked up a PC. Not really asked about that because I'm not paying over the odds for early access games. You heard. But there is a part of me that sat there going, I'm buying a new telly. So I found one. It's a nice 4K TV.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need a PlayStation Pro for that. It's like, she's going to come upstairs one day and be like, what the fuck is going on up here? And I'm going to be sat there, 4K telly on, PlayStation Pro, VR on.
Not even playing a VR game. Just
not even VR, because I'm just got it on my head. And she'll be like, I'm wanking on.
Power gloves on for some reason.
Power glove for some reason, because it is so bad. But at the same time, I would probably also have a Dreamcast fishing rod in the other hand. Because the Dreamcast, going back to our original point.
Oh, you're going to be the most dad thing. You're going to have the Dreamcast always on with a copy of Sega Bass Fishing in, so you can just escape.
And a gnome, just a gnome next to it. It's going to be my virtual pond. But no, this thing's like, I want to start, because I used to have an amazing collection of games. And most of it went when I moved out, but now I'm like, I'm going into a house. It's mine. I don't need to move again. Rebuild! And it's going to be awesome. And it was kind of...
It's when you cry and you look at things like you paid £8 for a full box version of Shenmue, and I had to rebuy a copy for £50.
The best thing about that copy of Shenmue is the person who bought it only ever played disc 1. So disc 2, 3 and the passport have never even come out of that box, and it's immaculate.
To be fair, it wouldn't surprise me if that's most people.
Do you know what the best thing is as well? The box that's got disc 1 in it, the bit where you put that disc back in is caved into fuck. So that game has been slammed back into that so many times by the previous one. I was like, no! Fuck off! I want to kick things, not drive a forklift!
You have to get quite far in it to drive a forklift, though.
You have to get quite far in it to do fucking anything.
True. I was playing it a couple of weeks ago, actually, just to get back into the mindset of talking about Dreamcast games. And I had one of the encounters with the school thugs that keep cropping up round town, and it's like, at the time, I can imagine it being quite a thrilling scene, but it's really fucking.
But do you remember, Alex? If we cast our minds back to one of the very first episodes of Super Thundercast, your view on Shenmue changed. By the end of it, you were going, "Yeah, fuck Shenmue."
Yeah,
and I think that was. It has aged appallingly.
Oh yeah, it has.
But it's that thing where, for all the scorn I tip on that game, like, when I mention it, someone goes, oh yeah, he invented the QuickTime event. And it's like, yeah, but you also don't see Hitler's dad banging on about who his son is. It's like...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like... It's that thing where it's kind of... You can see... Like we were saying before, the best thing about the Dreamcast is you can just see the sheer amount of fucking ambition and weird shit. It was like, it's a weird kind of almost like avant-garde thing with it, because you went, yeah, fuck it, we've made a fishing game. Someone in a boardroom's gone, wouldn't it be funny if we made a fishing rod peripheral? And someone's gone, do it.
Yeah, why not?
And it's like, you know House of the Dead? You know what people are shit at? Typing. And someone's done that David Brent sort of hand combination thing. He's just looked at his hands and just gone, House of the Dead? Typing?
Because what makes for accurate typing? Stress.
What makes you an accurate typist? Knowing that if you fuck up, someone's going to bury an axe or a zombie in your face. And it's like, they've gone, do you know what? It's like, when you think about all the games that people really remember of the Dreamcast, it's like, oh yeah, I had the weirdest taxi for trip this morning. Fucker had green hair, tearing downhill, Offspring playing. And this guy was going, sounds like you've been in a right crazy taxi. And he goes, what was that? And he's just written the words, crazy taxi down, balled it up, and thrown it into the dev pen, going, work on that, you slags.
Well, I think it's like that Dave Chappelle bit from one of his newer shows where it's like, he's that good. He just has the punchline and works backwards from it. It's like
turn downhill with green hair to Offspring. And they've
gone backward.
But it's like, even it's like there's a couple of games that people gravitate towards, like go, oh yeah, these are really great examples of really good games, and it's things like Shenmue and Skies of Arcadia and Grandia 2 and like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Power Stone, stuff like that, people come back to them. But the rest of it is just all a test bed for mad ideas.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about it.
And it was like, it was one of the last sort of hurrahs, I think, of like that old school way of making games where people were kind of like, it hadn't become big business yet, and it was still that point where it was getting to that.
Well,
but they could still go, you know what would be quite interesting? You know what would be fun? Let's give this a go. And it was like, it had that kind of old school, like cartridge based mental side to it, but with a much bigger budget. And
the thing you got to remember about the Dreamcast as well is that
didn't they rush it out as well?
Well, I'm not too sure, but it's kind of Sega. Sega kind of put in what they are mainly known for, which is arcade games and big arcade experiences in the home. And that's why there's so much mental stuff in it, because a lot of it is like your Crazy Taxi, like your fucking House of the Dead and stuff like that. It's just these big arcade experiences that they've managed to fit into a little box that goes into the home. And those were mental games. They were all about score attack. They were all about, like, look at Jet Set Radio. Perfect example. I mean, that didn't have an arcade version, but it's a very arcade game. It's not like, I don't know, it's not like Skate. It's not trying to be a simulator or anything. Yes. And that's something that all these games have. They've got that arcade personality where it is just, they know it's a video game. They're treating it like it's a video game. They're not trying to be anything more than that. And that's one of the great things about it. It's like the PS2 did it as well. The PS2 had a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, it had like like Silent Scope and stuff on the PS2. So you had like,
well, you had Silent Scope on the Dreamcast as well.
Did it come out on the Dreamcast?
Yeah.
Did they do a sniper rifle?
No, I think you just used the gun, but
dropped a bollock there. They should have done a scope.
There's a lot that came out on the Dreamcast that you're probably not aware of because you either got a better version of it on the PS2 or you had a more accessible version of it on the PS1.
Yeah.
But you had things like Mach and X, which is a Shin Megami Tensei game from the first person that you brawl with people in.
Yeah.
You had and Consolvania did an entire Dreamcast episode where with like lack
so we're
of
biting their style, is what you're saying.
We have always tried and failed at biting their style. We wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for Consolvania, probably.
True.
But like that lack of love game, I mean, that is a precursor to something that was kind of perfected I say perfected, but like that got really popular like nearly 15 years later with Spore. It's like, well, maybe not 15, like 10 years later with Spore or something. It's kind of this mad little ideas box, and that's why I fucking love it, because it's just so many of these crazy little ideas that never see the light of day again, because, like you say, a lot of the time, bit of a failure, but fun fucking looking at them.
Yeah, but it was that thing where it was kind of, a lot of the games, like you said, that came out have laid the groundwork for so much of the other stuff that's come out. So it was like, it needed stuff. And it's like, for all the people that got the Dreamcast failed, it's like, right, but it was the first console to do a big online multiplayer shooter.
Yeah, way before console, way before the fucking Xbox.
Wasn't it the first console to have the right number of controller ports on the front of it? So you could have multiple players, not just one and two.
And the Saturn had 4. I think you could put 4 on Saturn.
But again, Sega put in arcade shit in your house.
Yeah.
Because you had Virtual Fighter and stuff as well.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was that thing where it was just kind of everything on the Dreamcast. Like, it's like it should have absolutely pasted everything that was on the market. But it didn't, because it sat between the biggest console on the planet coming out and the biggest console on the planet coming out. Yeah. It was kind of...
Well, it wasn't it... I always forget if it was the Dreamcast was the console that they announced, and then it was out Saturn. A week later. And that was the Saturn, wasn't it? It was out like a week later or out at the same time.
Yeah, they kind of went, like, oh, yeah, this is the Saturn. By the way, it's out now. And everyone went, what the fuck? And it was,
no one's played one. It's like...
The Saturn died on its arse.
Yeah.
And I thought the reason the Dreamcast came out when it did was because the Saturn had died on its arse, and they wanted to try and get something out before the PS2, but it meant that in the process, the Dreamcast wasn't as powerful as it should have been. So I thought the Dreamcast was meant to have the same oomph as a PS2, which had it done, it would have fucked the PS2 into the ground.
Well, it's a weird one because, like I say, you get a lot of early PS2 games with a Dreamcast version, and the Dreamcast version is never quite as good as the PS2 version. But you got the PS2 was such a fucking behemoth, and Sony knew how to market it properly because, I mean, they were a consumer electronics company.
Yeah, they had more money behind them as well, whereas Sega were kind of... It was a massive downturn in arcades at that point.
Well, I mean, the Dreamcast is the do or die moment for Sega as well, and it's it did kill them. It did, absolutely, but you had games like Shenmue. Like, we keep coming back to it, but it's such an important game for that machine because it was like, it was a unit shifter. So you had people apparently seeing Shenmue and just being like, I need to play that because there was nothing like it at the time, and then. It also, I think we didn't have one of the largest budgets for a video game that at that time, like nothing.
It was billed as like an interactive movie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it was
which
David Cage bullshit.
Well, David Cage still can't get it. Arguably, I think Shenmue's a lot more fucking entertaining than fucking Heavy Rain.
I've been kicked in the balls and had more fun than when I played Heavy Rain.
There you go. So at least it's not Heavy Rain.
Yeah. Well, it's that thing where it's kind of. I keep saying it. I fucking hate Shenmue as a game. it's the thing. It's like, I sit there and go, I absolutely detest that game. It's like...
You don't like that style of thing. You like your games to be games, and Shenmue is very much...
I hate Shenmue as a game. It gave the world quick time events, and it bored me to tears. But, without Shenmue... You've not got
Yakuza.
You've not got like the quick time event bits in some games where a quick time event that's done well and perfected. Without Shenmue, you don't even have that because people went, that's a really fucking clever way of doing something that you couldn't do manually on a controller.
Yeah.
And it's like, so all of a sudden you've not got the entirety of all the set pieces in God of War. You've not got any of what's in Uncharted.
Well, you've not got
Yakuza as a game series. You've not got. I mean, they've done? There was another one that's very similar in like sculpt to Yakuza. There's a Fist of the North Star one that they've announced the PS4.
Oh,
you wouldn't have that without
done by the Yakuza.
You wouldn't have that. That game, you get an ability in it where you beat people with onomatopoeias. Someone screams, it comes up on the screen, and if you've got an ability, it just drops on the floor, you can pick it up, and hit someone with it. It's the bike wielding animation from Yakuza 6.
There you go.
But you're hitting someone with their fallen friends scream of pain. And I'm sat there going, fucking hate Shenmue, but it's led to that. And it's like...
Shenmue is just kind of like, it goes with the Dreamcast. I don't think you can have a Dreamcast without having that game. Like, it's just... everything that console is about, everything that console kind of embodies is in Shenmue. Yeah. And the same thing with that, other way around as well. It works. They are like perfect analogies of each other.
It's that thing. It's like, I look at Shenmue a lot like when you talk to people who like films. And when you ask someone what the favourite film is, and it's someone who knows about films, say knows about films, that sounds really wanky, but you know, like,
no,
you know what I mean? Like the people
it's into cinema.
I'm into
films.
I'm into cinema, and it's like, I'm into cinema. It's like, well done, you for some reason hate Netflix, and it's that thing where it's like, it's those people who probably did film studies, who probably were until a point. They're us in a cracked mirror. That's what they are. But the sort of people that's like, you go, what sort of film do you like? In the red, they're not going. In the red, they're not going, tell them the films you like. They're going, don't mention the fact you like superhero films. Don't mention the fact you like comedy. Don't mention this, don't mention that. All of a sudden, they're going, I really like Citizen Kane, and I really like Metropolis, and I really like The Godfather. You know what I mean? Like, they'll just go back to these, like, key touch points in cinema.
Yeah.
And it's that thing where you kind of go, that's a bit boring. But it's like when you talk to people like games, you go, what are the games that are important? It's Mario, original Mario, it's Link to the Past, it's Shenmue, it's...
Well, I think that's a very important distinction.
It's that thing, it's like, it's one of those games that's it's put on such a pedestal because of the influence it's had going forward, whether you hate it or not.
Well, that's a very important distinction to make, especially with something like Shenmue, is that you can still appreciate how important something is, but you don't have to like it. It's like when you you're talking about films. It's like all those films you mentioned, they're amazing from a film perspective, and they each have like this moment in history that it wouldn't have happened any other way, and you can really appreciate that. But no one sits and watches fucking Citizen Kane for fun.
No.
I can't imagine unwinding to fucking Metropolis. It's like 4 hours of silence. It's not fun. It's great, but not fun. But yeah, you can say the same thing about Shenmue, but it's like...
But yeah, it's that thing, it's like there's... It's that thing, it's one of the games that, opinion of it aside, it's one of those games that is one of the turning points in the idea of games becoming more cinematic and more viewed as... Fuck it, they are an art form. It's they are that thing where it's like, it's not like the whole kind of games as art kind of thing. It's like, no, it's something created to elicit a response. That's art.
Well,
it's like
we're getting very deep now.
No, but you know what I mean. It's that thing where it's kind of like it's one of the games that you can use in that argument because it gets a response from people, even if my response is burn it.
It's also a point of technical mastery as well. It's like, at that point, there was nothing that looked like Shenmue. There was nothing that emulated reality like Shenmue did. Like, I still find it absolutely mind-boggling that they recorded the weather from that part of Japan at that time, so that every day that passes in game is the weather that was in real life. Like, that is... amazing. Like, there are games now that don't do that.
No, nothing's done that since, really. No, the simulations, like Armour and stuff, they go, what's the weather like? Fuck it, we'll lag your game out anyway. And it's that sort of thing, but it's like, for a game that's as old as Shenmue is in sort of gaming
it's nearly
terms.
20 years old.
Yeah, exactly. For a game that's that old, to be able to do what it did, it's like, this is the thing, it's like, I don't feel quite so bad about hating it, because it's like, I can still appreciate what it did.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like...
And I think, like I said, that's the most important distinction to make. It's like, it's one thing to say, I don't like it, it's another thing to say that it's shit. Because it isn't shit, it's just not fun.
It's not a game for me, personally, but the stuff that it inspired...
is very much
is for me.
Yeah.
Like Yakuza is the shit.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is.
But it's just sort of... It's like we were saying. The Dreamcast, it's like, a lot of people will have quite a limited experience with it.
Because, especially over here.
Yeah, and it's things like you kind of got, like we said, you've got all these arcade games. You've got mental peripherals. You've got mental twists on games. You've got the fact that it was online. The fact that it had all this other stuff. And it was like, there was a lot of thirsts included in it. Like, the VMU was mental as a thing. It was like, I remember when I got my Dreamcast, I got Power Stone, I put the VMU in, I got the minigame, I turned the Dreamcast off and I sat in my bed and did the little flying game.
Yeah.
And I was sat there like going, this is awesome. It was like, all that stuff was just like, he said it was Sega going, this is a do or die moment. Fuck it, if we're going down swinging. And there was so much ambition involved in what they did across the board.
Definitely. I mean, but it's also like other companies were using the Dreamcast as kind of this weird little testing bed. Like I was saying to you before about Capcom. Like Capcom, you had Street Fighter 3 for it. I think you had like 3 versions of Street Fighter 3 for the Dreamcast.
You had Street Fighter, you had Marvel vs. Capcom, you had
the Alpha, you had Alpha 2 and 3, I think, or at least just 3. But you also had Technomancer that we played.
You've
got Rival Schools. The second Rival Schools game at least came out for the Dreamcast. You have.
You've got Marvel vs. Capcom 1, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Street Fighter vs. X-Men. You've got.
You had Capcom vs. SNK.
Capcom vs. SNK.
Which, as far as I was aware, only came out on the Dreamcast. But it's like that thing. I mean, granted, they're all beat 'em ups, but you also had
Power Stone was Capcom as well.
Power Stone was Capcom, but it was this idea that, like, everyone at this point in time in the games industry just didn't know what the next big thing was, so they were just trying anything that worked, and that's what I love about
the
it.
Dreamcast have every Resi up till 4 on it as well.
Yeah, I had 1, 2, and 3. I had 1, 2, and 3 in Dino Crisis.
And Code Veronica.
Well, that's another thing, Code Veronica. Code Veronica, I mean, if you want to just look at Code Veronica as its own thing, it would have only happened on the Dreamcast. I mean, you got a version of it for the PS2 later on, but, like, the idea of it being rather... Because it was the first time that a Resident Evil didn't have 2D painted backgrounds. It was the first time it was in a fully 3D environment, and you had this weird dual wielding thing, and it was, you know, a lot of weird ideas for a series that had pretty much been roughly the same since the first version of it. I mean, it didn't have Resident Evil 1, actually. I don't think it had a version of Resident Evil 1, but there was a version of that for San.
Do you know what would have been insane on the Dreamcast? Think about it. And it would have never happened, but I think I always wonder what would Metal Gear have done for the Dreamcast?
Yeah, that would have been like a Castlevania game on the Dreamcast.
Castlevania would have been incredible.
But
because this is the thing, when you think about the Dreamcast, you think about what Capcom were doing. They had all these 3D fighters that were all a bit weird and sluggish.
They didn't really have a place for them.
Yeah, but then you had like a lot of the sort of 2D and traditional sprite-based stuff still looks stunning on a Dreamcast.
We were playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 before, and that, I mean, I've got the HD version. It was the last time I played it, and that looks just as good. It's a great, like, the sprite art that you could get from a Dreamcast was incredible. Like, I love the look of Capcom vs. SNK. Any of those SNK fighters, the sprite art is amazing. But on a Dreamcast, not saying it looks better, but it was the last time I think that kind of sprite art was really kind of like, this is it. You know, this is technical expertise in sprite art kind of thing.
Yeah, but it was that thing where just kind of this was the thing as well. The Dreamcast was like one of those consoles that kind of, like you said, people were just kind of fucking trying everything and just seeing. I said it was just devs going chuck shit at the wall and see what sticks, because they knew the PS1 had worked and there was ideas on the PlayStation 1 and there was stuff that people were playing with, but
it was clear that the future was 3D.
Yeah, definitely. And it was kind of, they were going, what the hell do we do? Because the other thing with the Dreamcast as well was it was the start of all that kind of weird trend that was at the beginning of the PS2 as well, where you had all the cell shading the first time round. And it was kind of, it was another thing that carried on now. Like, loads of people went, right, cell shading. It's going to be a really good way to do really bright, really nice colours. And then they went, holy crap, in motion, this is hideous. And it was really ugly done badly. And a lot of places were doing it badly.
Yeah. I mean,
so it kind of petered off throughout the rest of the PS2's life cycle. And into the 360s as well, to a point. But then, towards the tail end of like 360 and PS3 and into PS4, there's such a big swing back towards it, because like things like Borderlands worked amazingly in it, and Ni no Kuni's cel shaded, and you suddenly got all this stuff again, and it's like we said before, it's an idea that was born on a console like the Dreamcast, and it was just people going, fuck it, what's this gonna look like?
It's the first part of like my favourite era in games, which is when like it knows itself as an. It seemed like it wasn't trying to get. It was trying. Obviously, it was trying to get as many people to play games as possible, but it was But gaming was kind of varied enough that you got lots of different things, but it wasn't varied to the point. It wasn't trying to accommodate everyone. Not that that's a bad thing, but you know what I mean. It's like
it was still very much aimed as a niche hobby.
Yeah.
But it had been pulled slightly wider because people holding purse strings had started to realise what gaming was ultimately going to be capable of, because now everyone does it. It's kind of that thing where it was sort of things like it's at that cusp where it starts becoming a wider thing.
And that's like the most interesting era in gaming for me. It's like, as much as I like contemporary games, and there's been one or two contemporary games that I would probably say are up there in my favourites, but it's like I have just such fondness for that era that like the Dreamcast is kind of this. Like, definitely, I think for me, like the myth of it and like the idea of it is much more effective than actually playing it a lot of the time. But it's still such a great time, and I think because like I was a kid then as well, it was like I say, it's that kind of forbidden fruit aspect of it. Like I've never had one, but I want.
Like it was a console that for me was me and my next neighbour and a couple of his friends and stuff, like sleepovers or just like on a Saturday afternoon or something, just piled round a telly, just playing something. And it was just that kind of, we've talked about it before, it's that kind of just people in front of a frigging telly on a couch together playing games, chatting, eating junk food, and just kind of, you almost make like a little mental bubble around it all, and it's kind of, that's like, there's nothing else going on at that point. It's just that bit, and it's like, that's what I've always loved about games, is the ability to kind of switch off from everything around you.
Yeah.
And being able to do that with your mates and stuff is just why the Dreamcast is so good. It was why the PlayStation was so good. It's why the PS2 was so good, and it's why the Cube was so good. And it was that point where it was kind of, the tech was growing, but it was still kind of that, it was just you and the people in the room, if you were multiplayer, and it was kind of, that was the bit that I loved.
Yeah.
And the Dreamcast was amazing for that, because the games that I played with my friends were all beat-em-ups and fighting games and co-op platformers, and there was shitloads of them on the Dreamcast.
Oh yeah, there's loads. And yeah, it's just such a fun little memory of it. Like such a great little time that we're never going to see again. Like, gaming is never going to get back to that point. It's always, like, I think probably the closest thing that you ever going to get to it is like the indie scene, where it's like people who like games making games for other people who like games.
Yeah.
But
we need to get more couch co-op again. And
that's the thing as well. I mean, the indie scene is still making Dreamcast games. Homebrew, still a thing for it. You can still get new Dreamcast games. It's such a fucking great machine. I love it.
Right. We've got some Dreamcast-based questions.
Yeah, that's a long time of us just talking
about
the Dreamcast.
Right. So, first Dreamcast question comes from our manager, Richard Sims, who is apparently recording something for this episode as well, so it's not just us.
We're going to hear
the dulcet tones of Richard Sims. It's going to be amazing.
Super Thunder Tidbits. 5 random facts about the Dreamcast.
Number 5. Inside the VMU is a microchip with potato written on it. As far as anyone can tell, this is just Sega telling a dad joke. Number 4. In Sonic Adventure 2, there is an unused audio asset that says Dr. Robotnik's mustache is fake.
Did you know the doctor's mustache is fake?
Number 3. The Dreamcast had its own proprietary music video CD format called MIL-CD. The name is a play on words. MIL, or MIL, sounds like miru, which is to look in Japanese. Not only was MIL CD shite and only had 8 discs total made for it, but its features were exploited by hackers to boot pirate games. Number 2. You can still go online with the Dreamcast using a Raspberry Pi and the custom Dream Pi operating system. You could do similar things with any old PC, but it is quite a massive pain in the arse. Number 1. The Dreamcast swirl was changed from red to blue for Europe, likely to avoid legal action from the German company Tivola.
Probably going to contradict me on all things Shemu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or edit me out and make me like a dick. I'm Chris. I'm Dick. And Shemu. And Shemu. It's like... Anyway, first question was, be honest. Did you think the Dreamcast was broken when you first turned it on and it beeps loudly at you? I'm going to say, not when it beeped, but the second the laser moves, you think, holy shit, it's going at my disc like a vinyl.
Yeah. Get it out, get it out, get it out.
It's like when Alex put his Dreamcast on before and we were putting games in it, the noises the Dreamcast was making, I was like going, oh god. It's how I imagine laser burn sounds.
I'll be honest, the first time I turned a Dreamcast on, because like my experience before actually having one, I didn't know it beeped because the only experience I had before that was in pods in shops, so it's already on. But it's like, I turned it on, I was like, I've been sold a duff console. I was about ready to get on eBay and fucking flame this guy, and it's like, oh no.
The other thing was as well, it was like a little clicky button, and I was like, clicked it, and it beeped, I was like, microwaves do that, what are you? And it was like, previous experience with consoles was just like have a big chunky sliding switch, or just the big power button that was on the original PlayStation. It was just like such a nice button.
Yeah, it's great. I like consoles with physical buttons on them rather than these touch things. So, fucking hate the future. It's shit.
Right. Anyway, next question: red or blue logo?
Blue.
The blue logo was the one we got. It was. I remember when I saw a red one, I was like, "What?"
I remember seeing on like all the eBay listings when I was getting mine, they had the input like the American consoles of the Japanese ones. I think it was the Japanese ones. And thinking, all right, they had a red logo. The white and the blue, I think, is a better colour combination. I mean, just in my head, like I always prefer white and blue together than white and red, but I prefer the blue by far. And I know he hates that, so
call me a fucking commie when I said I like the blue one,
which is ironic, really, because
Right, next question: best Dreamcast accessory? We've been over this. Is the fishing rod.
Keyboard.
Playing Crazy Taxi with a fishing rod. Fucking two, right? It's like...
I'm waiting for the inevitable man beats Dark Souls with Dreamcast fishing rod. I'm waiting for that.
Oh,
in fact, I'm pretty sure that's already happened.
It must have done. Yeah. Right. And I think there's two more questions. So these two are a bit bigger and a bit more in depth.
Yeah.
First one is, which Dreamcast game needs a port to a modern system? And which Dreamcast game needs a sequel? My answer to both would likely be Skies of Arcadia or Power Stone. Because...
Can I throw in Jedi Power Battles?
No, you fucking can't. It's like, we're going to get that eventually. Yeah. There's a new Star Wars game every bastard year. We are getting our sequel to Jedi Power Battles. It won't be called that, but that's what it'll be. Yeah. We'll know. We'll all fucking know.
If we're talking about a re-release...
I'd love to see a remaster of Skies of Arcadia, but I think...
Well, you got the GameCube one, which was a re-release of it.
So we're going to get it on the Switch at some point then.
I hope so.
In this Nintendo.
I really hope so, because it's a great RPG. Really seriously underrated RPG. I'm surprised it doesn't appear on more of these kind of lists.
I think it probably doesn't, because most of the people who write for IGN and Kotaku never played it.
Maybe. Yeah. But, I mean, there's that, but I really like... I would love to see a just a re-release of fucking hell. I had it on see, I always do this. I have it in my head, and then when it comes to me, you got this like long silence of me trying to think of it.
Yeah, it gets edited out more often than that.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. No, I'd like to see I'd like a sequel to Tech Romancer. Because I think...
You could do something really nice with that,
Now
with
you
modern licenses as well.
Even if it was more of like a... well, that's the great thing about Tech Romancer. None of them were licenses. They were all original things, but they were inspired by...
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you could have, like, so many different inspirations to stuff. I mean, like, imagine if Platinum made it using the engine they built that Transformers game in.
Oh, it'd be so good. It'd be so good. But there's that I'd like I think...
what else was there on the Dreamcast? Because it's like, every time I think a sequel to that would be good, but it wasn't a Dreamcast exclusive, it's like I keep going, oh no, wait, it was on the PS1 or the PS2. Because it sat in such a weird place console-wise.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like...
And like I say, we didn't get a whole lot over here, so... And...
Oh...
What?
Ready to Rumble boxing, but on the Switch, using the controls from ARMS.
That could be pretty
That would
good.
be funny as hell.
Ready to Rumble Boxing was really good. I would actually, thinking about it, it's kind of a boring answer, but I would actually like a kind of a HD version of the Crazy Taxi games 1 and 2. Like, those are really fun little arcade games. And I keep trying to pick up a copy of Crazy Taxi 1, but it's really annoying. It gets to the point where it's like people are asking you, like the bidding goes up to like 15 quid, and it's, I'm not paying 15 quid for fucking Crazy Taxi.
Thing is, and this comes back to a thing like we're talking about it being transferred to like modern games and the Dreamcast being like that arcade thing.
Mm.
You've got Larbo coming out. You've got a steering wheel. You've got a motorbike. You've got a fishing rod.
Yeah.
Fucking do it.
Yeah.
People lap it up.
Oh yeah, they would. And I think you're going to get... Because it's getting to the point now where... It's getting to that point now where you can kind of put stuff like Dreamcast games and PlayStation 1 games like really fucking easily on things. They're not great big games. They're not like...
They run on toasters. In
Well,
the grand scheme
maybe.
of things. Well, you got to think, they put stuff like... You can get...
Well, you can get most PS1 stuff to work on a fucking Raspberry Pi. And it's like...
Well, it's
But I
not
mean,
just that,
we're talking apples and oranges here. I mean...
It's not just that. You get things like... You can optimise stuff to run on... Well, you can get Dragon Quest 8 on a tablet. You can get Final Fantasy 9 on a tablet.
Yeah.
And it's
I
like...
mean, I am surprised that we've only just been getting like a Shenmue 1 and 2 remaster. I'm very surprised.
I think
at
we're
that.
only getting that because of the third one.
Yeah, I think
That's
we are.
purely the only reason why.
Yeah.
You'd have never got it otherwise. It would have just sat as this thing on
But
its own.
apparently they're making it a bit friendlier to play as well. Like they're they're changing the control options on it, so you don't have that weird kind of hold R to walk, and then you kind of like steer him around.
Yeah, well, the
Pardon me, but they're
controls
also
have adapted, haven't they, since?
Well, they're also getting rid of the thing where you had to like wait, and you can potentially miss plot points. Like no, that was something they were going to get rid of. Don't think they are actually. I think that they've still got that in the original Shenmue. But I remember in like the Xbox version of Shenmue 2, you could choose to like kind of skip that stuff. I think.
Yeah. They made Shenmue 2 more accessible, didn't they? It's kind of been built on.
Yeah, it was kind of like a bit more of a.
The damage was already done by that point, so I never played Shenmue 2 really.
But I didn't have an Xbox, and I didn't have this. That's something you're never going to get on this show, an Xbox special. Fuck that.
It's just going to be us two sat there going, fuck did I buy a 360 for?
I loved my 360. It just wasn't a PlayStation 3. So
No, it wasn't as good.
It didn't have Metal Gear 4. But no, I think I'd like a big kind of collection of all those old beat 'em ups. Like that would be
Can you
fucking
imagine?
great. A JoJo, fucking JoJo, a re-release of that 2D JoJo beat 'em up. I would be well into that.
What if Capcom just did the Dreamcast collection and it was just
They-
like slightly upscaled versions of all their old Dreamcast, like just the test bed stuff, like Power Stone and things, just all chucked on a disc.
They had that. They sort of had that for the 360 because they did the Dreamcast collection for it, which, if I remember rightly, had Space Channel 5, Crazy Taxi.
Jet Set Radio was on it, wasn't it?
I'm not sure if it was. I know it had those two for definite. I can't remember what the other ones were.
Dreamcast collection.
But either way, it was the stuff that I wasn't that interested in. Looking back on it now, I probably would have loved to have Crazy Taxi on it, but yeah.
the Dreamcast collection had on it, there were Space Channel 5 Part 2, Sega Bass Fishing, Sonic Adventure, and Crazy Taxi.
Yeah, I knew it was just Fox. I remember when it came out, I was a bit disappointed.
And then on the...
Did they do a second one as well? Or did they not?
Yeah, they re-released it on Steam, and it added Nights into Dreams from the Saturn and Jet Set Radio.
Alright, that's not bad. I love Jet Set Radio. I'm shite at it now. I got to a point where I knew what I was doing in that game, but I really don't know what I'm doing anymore with it. What are the other questions?
Right, so, well, we've covered that, haven't we then? So we've said we want sequels to Power Storm.
Yeah. Sequel to Tech Romancer.
That's it. We want remasters of most of the good stuff.
Yeah, just like good stuff.
And then...
Good stuff got games.
If you wanted... This is the last question. If you wanted to show off the weird and wonderful nature of the Dreamcast to someone, what's your go-to game? I think it's, if they've never seen it before, it's Crazy Taxi.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those quintessential mental games. Or you show them Power Stone. Or thirdly, to show them the fact that you just look at it and go, what the fuck were they thinking? Typing of the Dead.
Yeah, Typing of the Dead. Typing of the Dead is... It's such an odd little concept, isn't it, really? It shouldn't work. It just fucking shouldn't work. Why did they make it? What happened?
I don't know why, but it does kind of work.
Yeah.
The people on the Screw Attack website made a game that was like a spiritual sequel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they made like their own typing sort of game where you had to do stuff and it did things, and
that's pretty cool.
It was pretty smart, but it was like I loved Typing of the Dead as a thing, because I remember when you could find it in arcades.
Oh yeah, and had like the little keyboard set up.
Yeah, and there was a school trip we went on to France, and we were in some fucking grotty as fuck service station just outside like Southampton, where we were going to go and get this ferry from. And they had that, and they had Virtua Fighter. And Virtua Fighter was £1 to play it, but it was registering 20p's as quids. So we rinsed that game. And then the other one was the Typing of the Dead. And that wasn't registering 20p's as quids. That was just not registering money going in it at all, but still letting you play it. So we would just away Typing of the Dead. You can't see that on a podcast, but I was just there typing.
It was.
They're killing zombies with typing skills. That's why I'm so good at typing now. Because I'm a lean, mean zombie killing machine. Thing is, if you did it now, it'd just be like...
If fingers could kill.
No, I just think you couldn't do Typing of the Dead now, because someone had mod it, and it'd just be, what do you do to type? Do like some little fucking meme lord. It's like, I've got to do this last boss by typing "die you cuck" 40 times.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, here's a random word, type it. And then, like, just giving you little words to, like, shoot things out of the air and stuff. It was like, I can't do this with a light gun. But for some reason, I can do it with this.
I think if I was to show people the weird world of Dreamcast games, there's a couple of really good examples. Obviously, Tech Romancer, because
it's bonkers.
It is. It's mental. It's a giant robot fighting game where it's just it's so simple as well. But
it's almost too simple, wasn't it?
Well, that's why I don't think that's why it took off. There's been a lot of there's been speculation about it. Well, there's no real depth to it. It's just kind of, you've got 4 buttons. They each do one thing. You can't really combo things together. It's more just like the apps.
Hope for the best.
Yeah, just hope for the best and go in, pick your robot, go for it.
But it had that thing to it though. When we were playing it before, it was just like, you can, a lot of the Dreamcast games that are a bit weird,
Mm.
you can see that they were all kind of just proof of concept stuff that were being released just to almost just give the Dreamcast a bit of a back catalogue, because it didn't have a lot of support from some developers.
Some
so
people, it didn't get a whole lot going for it, really.
Was it EA that didn't make anything for it?
You know, I'm really not sure. Now that I think about it, you didn't have any, like, I can't remember you getting any FIFA games or anything like that for it.
I thought you got some, but I thought they pulled support for it really early on, which is one of the things that killed it.
It could have been.
They did. Someone did something, and it was one of the things that was.
Someone did something.
Someone did something, and it fucked the Dreamcast. And I can't remember who it was, but I was mad at him about it.
I think another one that I'd probably like to show them is Seaman, because it just makes no sense. Like, what even is it? It's a little.
It's a man from the sea.
It's a man, fish man, just existing. It makes no sense. I remember seeing that and actually being kind of terrified by it in a magazine because I didn't understand it. Thinking it was some kind of anomaly in like a break in the Matrix or something. Like I'm the only person that can see this, but. No, it was Seaman's one to show them, obviously, but I think one thing to show them would just be like the breadth of games that you got. Like, that's something that isn't really kind of discussed when you talk about the Dreamcast. The fact that it straddled that PS2 era, PS1 era, that it's something that you had Resident Evil 2 on, but then you also had Code Veronica on. It's like, that's such a... But it's like I was saying before, it's like a lot of those Capcom games are such a kind of... They're so kind of indicative of that time, where it is just people just throwing things at a wall, seeing if it sticks, hoping for the next big thing, the next thing that's going to take them into the next generation, so they don't really have to do much thinking later on. It's that kind of thing, and I think that's where the weirdness comes from.
Yeah, because it's like, it was such. I think it's kind of like it was a really odd console, but it was odd in a good way. It wasn't odd in the way like a lot
Saturn was,
or odd in the way like a lot of what was on the Wii was, where it was kind of.
Well, it had the opposite problem of the Wii. It wasn't popular
enough. The Wii was
enough.
odd as a novelty.
Yeah.
The Wii was super popular because it was a novelty, whereas the Dreamcast was really popular because, like you said, it was the sort of the arcade experience stuff, and it seemed to be a victim of circumstance, because it came out in like 99 over here. But then you got to keep in mind that within a year the PS2 and the GameCube had come out. And it was just like, well, that must have fucking sucked.
Well, you definitely had the PS2, but you've got it. But that's the thing. I mean,
that had a really short lifespan.
Oh yeah, really short. But it's like I'd probably put it with the GameCube as one of those consoles. I mean, the GameCube is a lot more popular than that, but one of those consoles where it was. I'm not going to say it's the last time that like a manufacturer decided we're not dancing to the same beat as everyone else, because I mean, look at the Nintendo Switch. But it was kind of the first one in that wheelhouse where you kind of gone like, right, well, people are wanting more power. We'll give them that, but we'll give them a lot of other weird little bits as well. Whereas like
it's almost like they went. It's almost like they've looked at it and gone, gaming's headed towards this more, it's focused on more realism.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of what was on the Dreamcast went, fuck that.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like the whole point of it was it went, no, games are supposed to be mad.
They're meant to be fun.
They're meant to be mad, colourful distractions. They're an interactive cartoon at that point.
You look like the main studios behind, like the main kind of development teams behind it all. They were all the people who were responsible for stuff like the Super Hang-On arcade machine. You know, these big, huge arcade experiences where you sit on a bike and it's like selling you an experience rather than selling you just a video game.
It's like the Afterburner game that we went on.
That was developed by that entire machine, that entire system, It was developed by someone who was, I can't remember his name exactly, but he's incredibly important to how the Dreamcast kind of, like, for a lot of the games that came with Dreamcast, he worked on fucking Crazy Taxi.
But the thing was as well, it was like after the Dreamcast and Sega started doing just games and just arcade stuff again, it was like you got that version of Afterburner where you sat in a jet and it had like the two rails up the sides of the machine.
Oh yeah,
and it'd bank up them whilst you were in it. And there was a version of Crazy Taxi where when you turn around a corner, the arse of the car you were sat in would go, and it was like,
But that's what Sega always did.
They've still got that thing where they've kind of gone, let's try and make this a little bit different and a little bit more mad. And it was like, think about it, Sega have always kind of done stuff that was a little bit mad. Like, the Master System, they went, there's a Master System. Turn it on, we got a game in it. There's a game in it. And it was like, the fucking the Mega Drive, or the Genesis, whatever you want to call it, you had
the CD,
and the 32X, you had the fact you could stack 32Xs and it'd still work.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's that guy who built that model out of his Mega Drive and his Mega CD and his 32Xs, and he built that, you know that image that you get in Japan of that radio tower that was turned to like a big pagoda?
Oh, yeah.
It's the top of a hill. He took a picture of that and then comped in his 32X stack instead. So it's just like... But it's like, they did that, and then they did the Saturn, where they announced it on the release date, and then they did the Dreamcast, which is mental, and they did the fucking Game Gear, which is the same size as a Nintendo Switch, with a screen the size of a 3210. And it was like...
They're dangerous people, Chris. They're dangerous people.
They
brought down a company just on the back of mad ideas. And no one said... It seemed like no one said no.
Exactly. It must have been amazing, because it was just... It's not so much a place where they were going, oh, we've got to make this for fiscal quarter, whatever, and we've got to do this, and we've got to do this. They kind of just went...
I mean, there probably was a lot of that as well.
But you've got that thing where they went, we're a games company. Games are supposed to be fun. It's a developing medium. Fuck it, let's see what happens. Yeah. And it was that thing where, like we said, you've got all those companies and all those like games franchises and stuff that found a niche or found a formula and stuck to it. But Sega, for better or worse, have always been content.
Just kind of threw that out the window.
Content to just kind of go, do you know what? Sonic being 2D and going really fast, it's quite good. Fuck it, make him a werewolf. And it's that thing where it's just ambition for ambition's sake.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Some stuff works phenomenally. Like they've gone, take the ideas of Shenmue, stick a dragon on his back, and make him fight shit. Hit people with motorbikes. Give that man a swordfish as a gun. And it's that kind of stuff that it was like, they went, here's the Yakuza games. And they went, here's like Jet Set Radio. Here's fucking Power Stone, because they somehow managed to get Capcom high and involved.
I think Sega was like the weird dealer that like comes around and just won't leave, and they're just constantly there, like just invading meetings at Capcom.
I like the idea of it's just a guy in a big Sonic hat.
Yeah,
just like he's just. You know, like when it was a Sonic game came out again, and they made us wear these big. They tried to make us wear these big fucking Sonic hats. And Alex came in the back whilst I was doing pre-on with a Sonic hat on my head, but I had one tied to each shoulder, pretending I was the Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
I was like, if none of you pricks will wear them, I'll wear them fucking all. And it was just. I love the idea of Sega just kind of being like outside Capcom, like some salaryman coming out of Capcom going, oh, it's like, it's the matter, Capcom, man. It's fucking apprentices. They've got all these mad fucking ideas, can't do shit with them. And he's there going, we'll take them off your hands.
See, I don't see it like that. I see Sega just sitting in the fucking car park with a baseball bat of the Capcom offices. A salaryman like comes out trying to get into his car, and he just goes, are you making a new game? Like, yeah, we've got this going, we've got this going. Stick some fucking giant robots in it, mate. They're like, what?
It's
And he just
smacks
puts the fucking window out of his
dings
car.
them on it and just goes like, you word.
Yeah,
And it's
no.
like, what? He goes, you word. Ding. I want tech romance. What? Tech romancer. Call it that. What? Ding on the body. You fucking heard. And it's like, all right, Sega, calm down. There's a guy out there in a Sonic hat with a baseball bat. Get back up there.
It's
Put robots in there.
Sanshiro all the way through it. It's like he's the guy who's just suplexing.
That's it. It's just literally they didn't come up with Capcom were making these games under duress. They were like, he can't kill any more staff. It's why Technomancer's so basic. They all died. It's just like,
He's got all the devs in an armbar just while they're trying to code. It's like,
he's just choking them out and just slamming them through walls.
but that's the kind of company that make.
Even the marketing.
That's what I mean.
Sega, mental. It was just.
It's not fucking surprising that they just make games now. It's like
I'd love them to do another console though.
I'd even love them to do a handheld. I don't care. I would.
I'd love them to do another console and just go at it with the same kind of wide-eyed, kind of just running at it, going, "We are officially the Howard Hughes of gaming. We've gone mental. We've bottled our piss. Now we're gonna make some games." It's like, so it's like
the
going,
Sega piss bottle.
It's like they're going, this, like they've made a Sonic game. It's like, why is the box so big? And you sort of got some poor guy in game going, if you want to go fast, you've got to use the treadmill they've shipped it with. It's like
they've just hired everyone who worked on Tony Hawk's Ride. And it's like,
no, they've not hired that one man and Tony Hawk. They've kidnapped, like North Korea. They've literally kidnapped the people who made Wii Fit, and it's like they've just got Miyamoto chained to a radiator. They're just going, we need more ideas. What if Mario? Not Mario.
It's everything about that company is just insane. It's like they're the same people, the same company. Like we said before, can you imagine them now pulling what they pulled with the Sega Saturn? Can you imagine that? Oh, we've made a new console and it's out tomorrow, and they've not told any of the devs.
You'd hear
anything.
this
It's just
popping noise in the distance, and it's just all the shareholders in a room at E3 killing themselves.
Yeah, it's
they're just like, no!
because they're crazy enough to do it again and think that it will work.
We've done it better this time. And it's like, what do you mean you've done it better?
It's actually shit.
Not everybody could watch E3 when we didn't stream it on the internet, or without social media, or before the internet was even, particularly prevalent. It was literally, you couldn't stream the video for it. You had to rely on the news. And you had to rely on the news from LA disseminating out of one building. And it was
One thing, yeah, it's like the way they would do it is they'd have to
so
make
ambitious.
national news.
It was so ambitious, but it's like, you've got things like, you've got stuff like that, and then you think about, like, even, like we said, every aspect of Sega is insane. They did my favourite adverts for games.
Oh, yeah.
Not just Sagata Sanshiro, but the Genesis can do what Nintendo don't. And it was like, even that, you're just like, that is such a shot across the bow. And it was just like, I love that. I love that it's kind of so ballsy and just, like...
You don't have that anymore.
Plus some of the games they made, in amongst a lot of the stuff we go, that's fucking stupid. There's stuff like all the Sonic games, like it's Ristar, isn't it, that was an abandoned concept for what Sonic was going to be.
Yeah.
And they went, the concept's actually really good. Fuck it, let's make a game out of it anyway. And it was like that mentality.
Oh yeah, it was.
They didn't waste anything, which is why there's so much weird stuff.
Yeah, it's great, and it's sad because everything is so kind of done by committee now, especially in the AAA kind of area.
And anything that's a slight departure is seen as really brave, and you just like,
you don't know brave until you've had an advert with Sagata Sanshiro fucking suplexing a child. It's like, that's brave.
Or riding a nuke into the moon to save Christmas. And it was just like, it's that stuff though. It's like now you think, like, everyone going, oh my god, it's really risky, it's really brave and such a departure. When you think about them going like, oh, God of War, slowed the combat down. And they've done this, and it's very soulsy. And it's
issues.
We're talking about serious issues, whilst also caving in trolls with an axe. And you're going, that's not a departure. That's them going, right. As good as that game looks, that is good. Still just a game studio going, right. This sort of mental brawling sort of high speed thing is, we've played that out. We've done that to death. What's popular? The Souls games. Fuck it.
Last of Us.
The Souls games, The Last of Us, bite their style for a bit, and it's like everyone's going, oh, The Last of Us 2. It's going to be so dark, so grim, so edgy. The first one was about this. The first one was about hope. This one's about hate. And I'm sat there going, I couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I thought The Walking Dead was shite when I had to watch it on telly, let alone play it. Fuck off.
Yeah.
So I love Naughty Dog as a developer, but The Last of Us just does absolutely nothing for me. And it's like, if Sega made it, I could control it with a fucking fishing rod. It might be interesting then.
It's that thing though where now they confuse fucking maturity with just being grimdark. And it's like...
Oh, that Clipper Wings bit in the trailer and stuff. You're like, there's absolutely no fucking...
It wasn't even that bad.
It's not even bad. It was done for shock value. It was like that whole trailer. You were just like... You're just trying to get the attention of people who won't actually get what that's actually supposed to be symbolising. They'll just be there like, oh, that's so fucking grim. Yeah. And it's like, no. It's just...
I don't know.
It leaves me a bit... cold.
Well, I think, to be fair, it's like that's how I look at most new games now. Like, a lot of stuff that's coming out, I'm just not that into. It's as bad as it sounds. It's like, look at the fucking... Call of Duty is a perfect fucking example. I know, like, people love to rag on Call of Duty, but it's a perfect fucking example of it, where it's like, everything is so fucking safe. Everything is just this kind of tiny incremental rework of a formula because one, it's so fucking expensive to gamble on something now, and two, you've got people who aren't necessarily interested in games dictating what people do with the money to make games. It's this weird kind of industry where it's just kind of, it's not for a lot of the stuff that's coming out now. I'm finding is less and less for me. It's like I look at stuff like what Sega was doing with the Dreamcast, even Shenmue, despite it being quite dry. It's just there's just so much fucking ambition. They're just trying to shake you out of this being like things can be fun. Things can be fucking fun. It's all right for things to be colourful, and it's like you don't really have that now.
Yeah, and it's that thing. It's kind of like. We've talked about this before, the idea of like when you've got like a kid or something and you're going to start like showing them games and getting them interested in stuff, it's like, what are you going to show them? And it's like the first stuff you were going to break out is old Nintendo and Sega and PS1 stuff, because you're going to be like, look at this mad shit, and it's like you need that foundation.
Yeah, you do, and it's like as good as like stuff like fucking as technically brilliant as contemporary games are. There's like only so much. There's only so many times you can be excited about the grim soldier man on the cover of a box and everything being hyper realistic. It's like,
or here's an open world and a list of collectibles.
Yeah.
Off you go. I love an open world game, but I tried playing that Mad Max one that they put on PlayStation Plus. It's fucking dire.
Is it that bad? I heard it was quite good.
I was just sat there and I was going, right, they've opened the map up. I couldn't give less of a shit because it's like, oh, it's a wasteland, and it's the same problem I've got with like things like what we've talked about Fallout and stuff in the past. It's that, right, I get it, you want to show that it's a desolate wasteland, but it's an open world game where you need to at least interact with people, or interact with fucking something, and you've just given me a shitload of sand dunes in a car. That's that desert bar racing game. It's not a Mad Max game, because it's like, for as desolate wasteland as Mad Max is, there's an awful lot of people in Mad Max films.
And there's a lot. It's
also Mad Max does not translate well to something that's interactive because it's like there's lots of bits where it's like you'd expect Max to kind of talk to himself or have an internal monologue.
Yeah.
His internal monologue would never be, "Oh, I should probably go find that harpoon. Oh, I should go and do this. Oh, I should probably tell you the next objective." It'd be, "Oh, I should." It's more. He wants to be left alone. He wants to do. He seems he wants to get to this point where he's clearly off to top himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that stuff that it missed the mark massively for me.
I've not even played
Whereas, if I could control it with a fishing rod, it would have been much better. Or, that would be a game and a half.
What?
I would like to see them take the controls and the driving from Crazy Taxi
Yes.
and put it in an open world game like Mad Max.
I think fuck it, just have the characters from Crazy Taxi in Mad Max. It'd make it a lot more interesting. Big green-haired dude in this big grimdark landscape, just Offspring blaring.
Just blasting round hills like handbrake turning with someone in the car, screaming their head off, and men still paying you.
Yeah.
It's just like, "Oh, okay, here's your tip. Thank you." Then off I go.
It's just an era that we're never going to get back. And
This is the problem though as well, because it's like when you think about it like that, you kind of go, "Oh God, I've turned into everything I've ever hated. I'm 30 and reminiscing about the old days." And then you kind of sit and go, but it's the old days in a medium that you can still get at, and it's sort of that's the good thing.
The great thing about it as well is there's always new things coming. There's always things coming.
And we're starting to get to a point now where they seem to have got through all the shit that we didn't really care about them remastering. And now they're starting to get to a point where they're looking less at them going, "Oh, what would be easy to remaster? What's recent enough that people will probably still have the original copy of it that they could still play?" And it's like, so like when they went, "Oh yeah, we've remastered Modern Warfare," and they've gone, "Oh, we're going to do Modern Warfare 2," and the internet went,
"Alright then." I still play Modern Warfare 2 because it's all peer-to-peer. It's like people still play it.
But then they turn around and they've gone, "We're doing Medieval." People went, "Been asking for that for years. Cheers." And then they went, "We're doing Spyro," and I went, "I have actually got powers." And it was like, the best thing was I mentioned Power Stone and got followed on Twitter by a Power Stone account, and then I tweeted that I've already bought Spyro and Medieval's remasters into being. Next stop, Power Stone 3, and this thing's like retweet, and it was just I was like, they know.
I think they're just begging. It's just like, "You seem to have powers, mister. Do something for us."
It's brilliant. I'm scrolling through this account, and every couple of days they just hashtag make Power Stone 3 over, and it's literally make Power Stone 3 at the Capcom community group. That's like the focus group thing they do online. So it's not just the hashtag once and what it is. They will fill an entire tweet, 280 characters of it over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Oh,
and
God.
It's like, this is so beggy. I don't know if my powers can help.
It's probably just a mentally ill person.
It's just one guy dressed as the pilot from Power Stone 1 going, "In Japan, my name's Fucker." It's like going for it. There's a chef called Yang Wang. Make a third one.
Yeah, it's.
No, I've always failed to understand why they don't do more crossover stuff with old Sega games as well.
I think as well, a lot of it is this weird licensing grey area, and it's with all the fun that they've had, they've just created such a legal mess.
It's like they can do Mario vs Sonic at the Olympics, but you're telling me you couldn't make another Virtua Fighter and start sticking some people from Yakuza in it? How good would a Virtua Fighter be if they did like a Soul Calibur thing and dropped in a couple of characters?
See,
Goro Majima and frigging Kiryu.
I'd love that on the PlayStation version of Soul Calibur. You get the Yakuza guys on the fucking Xbox. They can't fucking get along. Give a shit.
Yeah, it's like they could have Geralt and
Master Chief. Oh no, he's already in one, wasn't he?
you could have Geralt and
That prick from Sunset Overdrive.
or you can have Geralt and the just crystallised disappointment of everyone playing Sea of Thieves. That's what they can have. They can have a sad pirate and Geralt.
You enjoy your No Man's Sky in the sea. It's fine.
I love the fact that Sea of Thieves probably came out and Sean Murray just sat back, gave a massive sigh of relief, because they're making loads of changes to No Man's Sky that kind of sound interesting.
I really want to try it again.
I do. And it's like, the good thing about it is, it's like, wait a minute, that game's like a $5 now.
Just give it a go.
Right, pick one up.
Give it a go. Make sure you got 100 gig free on your hard drive, because there's a lot of updates.
But it's that thing where it's like, I love the idea of him just sitting back going, oh, finally, it's over. Feeling like he's that Greek mythology who they just chain him to the rock and shit eats his liver. It's like, instead of him being that anymore, he's just like, he's free. And they went, what? And he went, rarer back, boys. And they fucked it worse than ever before. And it's just like, there's just people in the No Man's Sky just weeping like Hello Games, like crying over the BAFTA for Joe Danger, and just like, we're free, we're finally free, screaming rare into the wind. It's just like,
because their birds are fitter than Rare's birds.
oh, Pennsylvania reference right at the death.
You're damn right.
Right.
I think that's about it.
Right,
we've deviated a lot on this
we've been at this for a while. As you can tell, we fucking love Sega.
Yeah.
We do like the Sega. Sakata Sanshiro is my idol. But you can follow us on Twitter at Super Thundercast, but without the E in Super because of Twitter's bullshit character limits.
Yeah.
You can follow me at Elwervo.
You can follow me at Alabaster Mage.
None of you are going to follow us anyway, but we just thought we'd tell you.
Yeah.
Every time we just sound bitter as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to a point now where it's like,
why are we even telling you?
Yeah, I guess so. No, I'm joking. No. Stay optimistic, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a T-shirt now. If you saw on Twitter, just one, just one,
it's
slightly misaligned.
It's the rarest piece of merch. It's like, no, it's great. It's
a start.
It's fun. It's just all fun.
But yeah, well, next episode is going to be all about your what are they called? Character-driven brawling action games.
Yeah,
like,
we're getting real specific with this one.
Yeah, it's basically
third-person action.
It's us talking about your Devil May Cries, your Vanquishes, your Bayonettas, your Yakuzas, your God of War. Your God of War.
God of War.
We are basically going to talk. We had such a good time talking about fisticuffs with the beat-up one.
Yeah.
We're going to do it again.
But this time in a much larger arena.
With quick time events and set pieces.
Yeah.
It'd be fucking amazing.
And Takeshi Kitano is
just, yeah.
This weird strokey face.
Indeed. He's going to be amazing. Right, anyway.
Right.
We'll speak to you soon.
Speak to you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
銀河衝突、星々は砕け光の渦となって漂う。そこは時間も空間もあるべき姿にとどまらぬカオスの狭間。そして今、超次元が生んだ無限のパワーが神秘の黒金となり彼らを包む。集え、奇跡の戦士たちよ、魂の叫ぶままに。
超光戦記スカイオン胸に抱く正義の証溢れる勇気が奇跡を呼ぶの